Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we've got a money video. So many of you have asked me to continue to make personal finance content, and I am happy to sprinkle those in amongst my fashion and luxury videos here on this channel. It may seem a little bit ironic to those of you who are newer, but I've always talked about balance. I believe in working hard and playing hard, so earning a good living and being able to spend it on life's luxuries and comforts to make memories and experiences, but also taking care of priorities, putting aside money for the future, and to build generational wealth. So, with that being said, today's video is all about how to build an emergency savings fund, because that is one basic way to start building financial peace of mind, to have an emergency savings fund, okay? Now, if you are living paycheck to paycheck and you are really struggling to put food on the table, then this video may not resonate because you might not have enough margin in your life to put money aside. But I do believe that the vast majority, if not all of my viewers, do have some margin, and you are able to create cushion in your life and that will help to lead to financial peace of mind. With that being said, let's get started. I've got calculator, pen, some bills here, $1,000 sitting out for demonstrative purposes, and some paper. And I want to say there is a disheartening statistic that has been publicly sort of circulating for a while now. It was based off of a poll done by Bankrate, where they found that over half of Americans who were polled said they could not afford to cover a $1,000 emergency expense, meaning that if an $1,000 or more emergency expense came up, they would have to dip into either a credit card or take out a loan or borrow money from a friend or family member or cut somewhere else. So that is sad, but also scary, because really anything can happen. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. So you definitely want to have some cushion and have a security net for yourself. This is not retirement money. This is not college education money for your kids. This is purely emergency money. So step one, first, you want to figure out how much you can afford to pay yourself. Let me say that again. You need to figure out how much you can afford to pay yourself, okay? And then pay yourself first. So let me take a step back and explain. A lot of people get their paycheck and they immediately start spending it. They will pay for all their bills and necessities, and they will start eating out and going out and doing whatever it is they like to do. And then at the end of the month, I don't really have that much money left. Or maybe I do have money left, but I don't really know what to do with it. And maybe it just naturally gets spent because it's there. So instead of doing that, what you want to do is step one is to do some homework. You just get pen and paper and write down very simply all of your recurring monthly expenses, mortgage or rent, utilities, insurance, whatever is necessary for you to live on a daily basis. Now, if it's really tight for you, you may need to determine if you have to cut in some of these areas and if you have any wiggle room. But for now, just write down everything and then total it up, okay? And then we're going to do some hypotheticals. So let's say that your after-tax paycheck is $5,000 a month, just using a round number here. And then you've totaled up all of your monthly expenses that you know on a recurring basis always have to be going out. They're nonstop. So you total it all up and you discover that it's a little bit more than half your money. So let's say it's $2,800. So then you're left with $2,200 in this hypothetical situation. By the way, there is the 50-30-20 rule, which I have talked about in previous videos, where financial experts use this model, saying that they recommend 50% of our after-tax take-home pay is used on needs, which is what we just calculated, all of our basic essentials like food, shelter, recurring expenses. And then the next largest would be 30% on wants, such as frivolous purchases, travel, entertainment, dining out, etc. And then 20%, the smallest category, would be for savings. Now, me personally, I always like to flip those and make it 30% or more in savings and 20% or less in wants, just to be a bit more aggressive and conservative with my spending, but that's just me. If you have the ability to do that, then great, you may want to push yourself. If you can't, that's okay too. If you can only save less than 20%, that's fine too. Better to start with something than nothing. So don't focus on the percentage, but I just wanted to give you that rule of thumb in case it's helpful as you start running your numbers and doing your calculations. If you wanted to do a calculation to see how do I sort of compare against that for 50-30-20 model, you can take a look. So in this case, this person is making $5,000 a month after tax, and they spent, $2,800 on necessities and left with $2,200, okay? So less than 50% left. And then most people, what they do is they say, okay, well, I want to get my hair done and I want to go to the theater and I want to eat out twice this month and I want to go on that trip I've been planning. And they do all of that and then they see what's left over. What I'm telling you to do is to pay yourself first. Okay, you've already paid so many of the bills and necessities. So I want you to pay yourself first. So if you know that you have this much money left over every month, roughly, then you ask yourself, how much do you want to pay yourself? How much can you afford to pay yourself? Clearly not more than $2,200. So maybe in this case, you are comfortable with paying yourself $1,500 a month. That's pretty nice. And you're left with $700 a month to go shopping, get your hair done, go get that gift for your friend, eat out, whatever. But now there's your budget. You didn't even really have to budget and you're left with a budget. Why? Because you paid yourself first instead of last. That's step one. Figure out the dollar amount. Now, if you were to use the 50-30-20 rule with $1,000, it would be $500 go to needs, $300 goes to wants, and $200 goes to savings. That's according to the traditional 50-30-20 rule. Again, you can adjust to your circumstances. Now, step two, very easy. You're going to open a high yield savings account, not a regular savings account, a high yield savings account, because they will offer you a much higher interest rate. If you just stick it in a regular savings account like at Citibank or JP Morgan Chase, they will give you 0.01%. That's not cool. That's like nothing. However, if you put it in a high yield savings account, right now, they're hovering around 4.5%. If you want to shop around, you might even find closer to 5%. I do recommend banks such as Goldman Sachs, Barclays, and Capital One because they've got big names and they've been around a long time. And I do know from personal experience that they offer pretty competitive rates on their high yield savings accounts. There are others out there who offer a little bit higher interest rates, but I've literally never heard of them. I don't know how long they've been around. I don't know the history. So I don't trust them because it's my money and I want to house it somewhere that I can trust. But that's up to you. You can go online and take a look, okay? So you're going to open a high yield savings account. And the reason why high yield savings accounts are wonderful is because your money is going to be liquid, meaning it's highly accessible. You can put the money in, take the money out whenever you feel like it. There are no restrictions, just like a regular savings account, but with a higher interest rate. Secondly, most of these, if not all of these, have no minimum deposit requirements. So you can start with literally $1. You don't have to put $1,000 in or even $100 in. $1 is all it takes to open a high yield savings account with most of these banks. And third, there's no withdrawal penalty. Okay, so you put the money in. It's not like you have to keep it in there for a certain period of time. You can take it out the next day. So right now there is a 10-month CD promotion happening with Capital One. They're offering 5.3%, which is pretty nice. But the reason why I'm not recommending CDs for most people right now is because this is, again, emergency savings, meaning that if tomorrow lightning strikes, you're going to have to pull that money out, right? If you put it in a certificate of deposit in a CD, and it's a 10-month term, you cannot touch that money for 10 months. If you are forced to take that money out before the term expires, then you will be hit with a withdrawal penalty, which means that you will wipe out any of the interest earned, and you may even lose money on top of that. So I do have a CD as well where a chunk of my money is sitting in, but I only did that because I knew that I definitely would not need to access that money for the term that I put it in for. A lot of times CDs will offer barely the same rate as a high yield savings account, maybe a tiny bit higher. So you need to compare, because if it's not that much higher, if it's not an attractive rate, there's really no reason to lock it into a CD when you can get the same rate with a high yield savings account and have all the freedom to take the money out whenever you feel like it. Okay, you're definitely not going to keep your money in a checking account, please. So a lot of us, including myself, I have my paycheck direct deposited into my checking account every 2 weeks. But if you just leave it there, you are getting nothing, 0%, because checking accounts do not offer interest, which means that you are housing the money with the bank and getting nothing for it. So again, open a high yield savings account. That is step 2. You can literally do that in 10 minutes on the computer. Step 3, last step, so easy. 1, 2, 3, boom, and then you're done. So the last step is you're going to take your checking account where your money probably is, and then your high yield savings account, and you're going to create an auto transfer. And you're going to set up an auto transfer that says, on this date every month, I want this much money to transfer over to my high yield savings account, to this external account, on a recurring basis. So if it's $1,000 a month, on the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month, or if you have a lucky number, the 25th of the month, whatever it might be, set it up so that every month it automatically transfers over, so you don't have to think about it, you don't have to remember it, and you're certainly not tempted to use it because you don't even see it. And that's what I mean by paying yourself first. If you get your paycheck and automatically a chunk of that goes into your emergency savings account, then you've paid yourself, and the rest you pay all of your bills, and then whatever's left over is your fun money, not the other way around, okay? So it's basically a set it and forget it kind of mentality. You put it on autopilot. I actually do this with my bills, with my savings, and also with my charitable giving. I have it auto set on a monthly or quarterly basis, and this way it doesn't feel like a chore, and I don't feel like it's burdensome. And by the way, I don't feel like I'm punishing myself because I see this money and then I have to go put it away. It feels like a reward actually, because at the end of the year when I see my statements, whether it be my savings statement or my giving statement, I feel like, wow, this is pretty nice. So it should feel good for you, and you deserve it because you've worked hard for that money, and you don't want to just whittle it away by giving it to different companies and spending it at different stores and paying your bills and that be the end of it. So if you do have margin in your life, be honest with yourself. If you are living above your means, if you're overextending yourself, or if you're spending every single cent that you make, then just analyze where your money is going. Sort of do like an audit on yourself and adjust where you need to adjust, and be clear about where your margin lies. And from that margin, you determine how much of it is going to go into your emergency savings and how much of it is going to remain as your fun money. Definitely pay yourself first. It feels really good. Do the high yield savings account. It is a no-brainer, and definitely automate so that it's rinse and repeat without you even having to think about it. Hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.